Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book Star Trek Titan: Taking Wing by Michael A. Martin and Andy Mangels. This is the first book in the Titan series of books featuring the USS Titan, which is William Riker's command. This is the ship that is outfitted immediately after the events of Star Trek Nemesis, and I've been reading a ton of books over the last several years featuring the Titan and its crew, so I'm familiar with quite a lot of these characters, but this is the first book that they're all put together in such a way. And I believe that there are 10 such specific Titan novels. Michael A. Martin and Andy Mangels worked on 3 of them, and then other authors came in to work on some of the others, like Christopher Bennett and David Mack and James Swallow and John Jackson Miller and others. And so this is a solid line that's been around for a while. It was going on from about 2005 to about 2017. And if the rest of the line is like this first book is, it's going to be a fantastic series because this was a superb book. One of the things that happened in Star Trek Nemesis, which was the final of the Next Generation movies, it just totally changed the way that Star Trek dealt with the Romulans and introduced the Remans, and it left the Next Generation era on just a weird footing. This book attempts to tell a kind of political storyline, a political negotiation storyline between the Federation and the various elements of the Romulan Empire. Because the Romulan Empire is pretty much like balkanized, and like there's different people who have different parts of the power. Some people in the military have military power, some people in the politics have political power. Nobody has consolidated the power yet. But the what's trying to happen in this book is Starfleet is trying to make a deal with them and make a deal with the Remans and keep the Remans want to kill all the Romulans, and so there's that going on. And then there's also the Romulan reunification movement led by Spock, who has been a part of this for many Star Trek books, and this book has a lot of tie-ins to other Star Trek materials. There's a few tie-ins to the A Time 2 series, but there's also some major tie-ins to Articles of the Confederation, which is one of my favorite Star Trek books. And so this book, it has one of the things that makes Titan interesting is it has such a diverse crew. And when I mean diverse, I mean so many different species representative. You've got the chief engineer is from one species, Dr. Rahav Ray. You've got their chief medical officer, who's probably the most interesting species. I think he is basically like a lizard type species. And then, of course, you've got the humans on board, and you've got Vulcans on board, and you've got just all other types of species. And so it's such a very interesting group of characters on this ship. And also, it is meant to be a science vessel. And in the future books, I believe it becomes much more of a science vessel, or at least an exploration vessel. And at the end of this book, it sets up the storyline for the next story, which is much more into exploration stuff. And of course, some of the famous post-Nemesis characters like Admiral Akar, I think is his name, or Akar, however you pronounce his name, he shows up, which is he's delightful anytime he's present. And so I just, on every level, I enjoyed this book. I thought that the pacing was pretty good. I thought the character development was good. There's one minor character who has a plot line or a character journey introduced, and then it just kind of ends midway through the book and isn't in the end of the book at all, which was right because it didn't fit at the end of the book. And I think this was just introduced here so that it could be paid off in a later plot line. And so I'm interested to see if that happens in another book. So that was fine. But there's so much great themes in this book. There are great themes about diplomacy and war, and how sometimes they go together and sometimes they do not go together, and how sometimes you do diplomacy to avoid war and sometimes you do war because you can't get diplomacy to work. And it's just fascinating. It is just a fascinating book, and I really enjoyed it. I liked the dynamic between Riker and his new XO, Christine Vale. I think she's quite interesting. I think that the whole dynamic of having Deanna on board as in this dual role that she has is very fascinating. So on quite a lot of levels, I really enjoyed this book. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It's not my favorite Star Trek book, but it's up there in the top tier, and I think it's just a really strong start to the series, and I can't wait to read more from this series. I'm hoping it's all still very good. If you've read Star Trek Titan Taking Wing, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and which of the Titan books is your favorite? Most people say the James Swallow books, but I'm curious. So until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.